Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This week we've got some exciting things on the go. We're going to be fitting these into the van. Let's get them unboxed and see what they look like. So here we've got some double glazed windows. We've got a 700 by 500 that's going to go in the driver's side, and then we've got a 900 by 500 that's going to go in the passenger side. These have come from a company called Shield Auto Care. They look really good quality and we'll see how they fit. So these windows come with blinds that go on the inside. So they've got fly nets and blackout blinds built in. There's a big debate around bonded windows versus double glazed windows. For this build, we've gone with double glazed windows. I think after living in a van and experiencing the condensation that you can get with bonded windows, we're going to give these a try in this build. They look nice, they're black, they're flush, they fit flush to the van. They've got a nice aluminium black frame. They're going to look quite nice on here. So yeah, let's get them in. So to make sure I've got the correct placement for the window, I made a cardboard template by tracing the inner part of the window that will go through the wall of the van. Super simple process, drawing around the window, cutting it out, meant that I could then move on and offer it up to the van to make sure that I got the right placement. This is something that I do throughout most of the build to make sure that I'm not cutting into expensive materials, or certainly not cutting holes in the van that are going to then need to be patched up and replaced. So it's kind of the best thing to do to get it right the first time. So once I was happy with the template, I put it in place on the side of the van where I'd planned the window to go. The window is a little further forward so I can keep one of the internal braces in place. This just gives the wall panels of the van a little bit more stability, and I prefer to leave them in place if I can, but on the other side I had to take them both out to make room for the window. So once I was happy with the placement of the template on the outside, I began cutting the brace on the inside. I'm using some manual hand snips here. They're like a sheet metal nibbler that just cut through these braces, and then I was able to go all the way through, do the same on the bottom as well. Take off the adhesive by heating it up with a heat gun and then just pulling this brace off the panel, and then it left with a really nice clean cut to be able to put the window in, as you can see here. With the internal brace cut, I simply drew around the template with a Sharpie, taking it off, and then there was my cutting line. Masked it up with some masking tape on the outside just to make sure I didn't burr the paint or catch the paint with any tools or anything like that, which I may have done in the past. You don't want to be taking a trip to the paint sprayers. It can get a little expensive if you start messing up, so it's always best to mask it off, which is what I was doing here before drilling. So the final preparation stage before we start cutting holes in the van was to put a sheet inside. Basically, when the nibbler goes through the metalwork, it spits out lots of bits of metal that can go everywhere, so we want to protect the inside as much as possible with this. So now we have the part that doesn't ever get any less scary, which is drilling holes in the van. Started out initially with a 3mm drill bit to make a pilot hole, and then I put it down to a 20mm drill bit, and then I had to file it out a little bit to get the 22mm nibbler in there to start cutting. So here's the part where we take out the main section of the metal panel to get the window in using the nibbler. It just runs simply around the edge of the masked area. Using this, we can always trim it back afterwards, so I always go a little bit smaller on the initial cut, and then I like to trim it back after. It's better to have the hole a bit too small rather than a bit too big. Using a clamp on there to hold the metal sheet in place so it doesn't fall out and scratch the outside of the van. So the window's out, so for this bit I'm going to just go around and trim up the edges with the nibbler. It's hard to get it bang on first time, so you're going to go trim around, test fit it, see if it fits, and then we can get prepping the edges, file it back, and get the window in. So the final part before we can do the first initial test fit is just to go around, trim up the edges, any marked lines that you haven't managed to cut the first time, get those cut, and then we can try offer up the window. Will it fit? Will it fit? No it won't, no it won't. It's too small, it's too small. So back with the Sharpie, marking out the edges where we need to cut away again, getting the nibbler back out, trimming it up, and then we'll give it another test fit and see if it works. much to my surprise, or not to my surprise, it didn't actually fit. A little bit more trimming was required, so put it back in, marked it out, trimmed it up again for one final fit. And it's in. It is in. Is that right? Is it in? It's feeling a little bit tight. Why is it feeling tight? So it's in there. It's in the bottom corner. In the top corner. That's it. We are snug. Up next, we have to make the inside frame using 30mm timber, which I haven't got. I've got 34mm. So I'm going to make the frame. I'm going to plane it down with the planer. Then we're going to get this fixed in, silicone it. But first, you need to prep all the edges, file it down, paint it, clear up, and we're good to go. So simply filing down the rough edges that have been cut before it can be painted. I always make sure to hold both ends of the file when I'm filing down the van metalwork, as it can be quite easy to slip with it and you don't want to be catching the paintwork. Then once that's done, just taking off the masking tape, ready to clean up before painting. A quick vacuum off of the surrounding areas means that we can get rid of any of that loose metal shavings, and then we can get on and wipe down the outside area with methylated spirit, and we can begin painting the edges. So when painting the edges, I use metal paint that can be picked up from any local DIY shop. This will stop any potential rust or moisture from getting to the bare metal, and then that's what will cause the rust. So we're going to get on to making the frame out of some 34 by 34. And as I mentioned earlier, this is going to need planing down. So for these windows, you've got to take the inside measurement and just make it a little bit bigger. As you can see, it'll sit here. So the frame needs to be tight to this because there's some clips that go on there that hold it flush in place. So the frame effectively needs to sit on here, tight to that. Obviously that is too deep, that needs to be made shallower. So yeah, that's why we'll plane it down, make the frame. This window's 700 by 500 that's going in the driver's side where the passenger seats are going to sit in the back. And yeah, so once this frame is in, that's going to hold it flush to the van with some silicone to make it nice and watertight and hold the frame to the wall of the van. Yeah, let's get it made. So using those 34mm lengths of timber, I'm cutting them down to size on the miter saw, then I'm going to plane them down to reduce the thickness to around about 28mm on one side, which is about the right depth for the window to clamp onto. The planer was being a bit of a pain when I was trying to take off too much in one go and kept blocking up, so then I reduced it down to taking a mil or so off at one time. Right, the frame is made. You've got it. I had to cut some pieces off around the corner because there's this inner flange. This is in a bit of the van. I'm going to put the window in and we will see if it fits. So after test fitting the frame around the window, I decided it was a bit too thick, so it needed planing off a little bit more. Not too much, but then we could get it back in. Now it all fits. Next up was using my new favourite tool again, the electric mastic gun, to run a bead of Sikaflex around the underside of the external part of the window. And once that was done, it was time to fit the window, pushing it inwards from the outside and then back into the van to apply Sikaflex to the back of the frame, and then we can get that frame into place. So what we have here are these, which are these get screwed into the frame, and then this sits and pulls this outside frame tight, so it pulls the window tight and gives it a nice seal. So very, very happy with the end result. The camera died just as I was fitting the window, well, the fit in the inside frame, but the window is here, it's in, it's looking great. It's all sealed up around the outside, There's a bead of Sikaflex, which you saw me do on the when I fitted it, so that's behind there, so that looks really nice. But yeah, here's the driver's side one, which is where the bench seat's going to go for the passengers, so they'll be able to open that. And we also have the other side, which is looking mega, which I'll show you now. So here is the passenger side one, which is, this one is a 900 by, this one's 900 by 500, and the other one is 700 by 500. But you can now see through the van, which is really cool. So the final step is fitting these blinds that simply fit with 4 screws, one in each corner. They have the blackout blinds built in along with the fly nets, and they're really cool. And this will really finish off the inside of the van quite nicely, and it means that you don't have to be storing blinds anywhere else in the van. So I'm really stoked for how this one's turned out. Both of these windows are looking great. I hope that gives you a little bit of insight into how they get installed, the process of making the templates, making the frame, and you know, cutting out the sheet metal with the nibbler. That is it for this episode. The next episode we're going to be installing the flares, which I'll be picking up tomorrow, and I'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to support the channel, and I can keep on posting. Cheers.